Hello and welcome to another episode of Two Guys and a Chainsaw. I'm Todd.
And I'm Craig.
Well, we come to another request. It is about time, and so as we always do, we put out a few movies that have been requested and added to our long-standing request list to our patrons, give them a poll, and say, which of these three movies would you like us to do? And I thought it was leading in one direction for a while, and then at the last minute, it took a sharp turn, and gosh, this might be one of our most participated polls ever. And overwhelmingly, everyone wanted us to do Clive Barker's 1990 Nightbreed, which had been requested by one of our listeners, Harry, who's also a sports podcaster and an author. And I believe it was on Facebook or maybe it was on our patron page that he had reached out and asked if we could do that or Midnight Meat Train. And so, we're doing Nightbreed thanks to him and the votes of our patrons. And it's cool because neither Craig nor I had seen Nightbreed, oddly enough, even though I think it was in our faces all the time, right? I mean, so you see it in the video store all the time. It's a Clive Barker thing. But as I started looking into it, I thought, wow, it feels like we're biting off a lot by doing this movie, much more than I realized, because this film has a very storied history that stretches well into the 2000s, even with different versions that have come out. This is another one of those classic movies that Clive Barker, who was writer-director of it, was based on his novella, really had grand ambitions and was given control. And then at the end of it all, the studio wrested control back away from him and decided to put out a cut that he was not happy with, that apparently most people involved were not happy with, didn't really know what to do with the movie, didn't really understand it, marketed it as a totally different film, really. And that might be a big reason, just audience expectations, why it was really a critical and commercial failure at the time it was released to theaters in 1990 and turned Clive Barker off of filmmaking for quite a while after that. And so later in the 2000s, I think it was 2014, some people got a hold of footage that he thought was lost or misplaced or not in good shape or whatnot, and worked with him, and they put together a director's cut. They basically went with an old print of the film, one of the earlier prints of the film that they had that he had cut together. And this reflects, he said at the time, this reflects my original vision. This is the movie I wanted everybody to see. So I said to Craig, since we're in a unique situation here, why don't we do something I don't think we've ever done before? How do you feel about watching first the theatrical cut and then the director's cut, so that we can really go in all eyes open and fully compare these as though we were people who at the time had seen it in the theater and then later on caught the original director's vision? And we'll have a lot to talk about comparing and contrasting. And you were up for it. We had some extra time, and so we did it. There is also, by the way, full disclosure, a third cut out there called the Cabal cut, which is like 3 hours long.
And over 3 hours, yeah.
Ain't nobody got time for that. Least of which Craig and I, who are very, very interested in movies that are 90 minutes or less.
I thought about it, but no. Too long.
I thought if I had been just super, super taken by this, maybe I would go out and watch the Cabal cut, a month later. I don't know if I will. But anyway, this is my first time seeing it. Craig, that's also your first time seeing it. We talked about that, yeah.
Yeah, which is, again, as you already said, I think super weird. I don't know how both of us have gotten this far in our lives and have not seen this movie.
Yeah.
Because it's not like it's some, strange oddball thing that people have never heard about. People talk about this movie a lot. It's Clive Barker, and I'm a huge fan of his. I just don't know. And like you said, it's not like it was difficult to find. It was right there on the video shelves. I can't tell you how many times I looked at it and thought, well, that looks interesting, but I don't know why I didn't pick it up. But I didn't.
I think I can tell you why I didn't pick it up. When I was a kid and I saw this on the shelves, I looked at it and I saw all the different goth-looking creatures and stuff on the front. And I thought, I think this movie's necessarily going to appeal to me. I figured it was going to be, and I probably read the back of it, about a bunch of like gothy creatures in tunnels under the city or something like that in some other world. And that just was not really the kind of thing I was into. I didn't feel like there would be much mystery. I didn't think it would be much. Clearly, it was going to be more fantasy than I was into at the time. Which, again, I think we talked on the Hellraiser episode. It took me forever to see Hellraiser because, again, the imagery and just that appeal, it just wasn't what I was into. Give me a slasher, give me the Dream Master, Freddy Krueger, give me some cheesy, fun to laugh at horror movie that's very typical. This was just the aesthetic of it. Didn't seem like it would appeal to me. So
I don't know why it didn't appeal to me. It should have. Everything else like this did. Like, even the characters have kind of a very like Labyrinth,
True,
Dark Crystal, Return to Oz kind of look about them, and I was totally into that stuff. So I don't know why it didn't appeal to me. I have no idea, but this is the first time I've seen it. And you talked about how there are different edits of it. I have a cautionary tale.
Oh.
When we pick these movies, Todd is always very kind and sends me useful links where I can find the movie.
And you ignore them.
Not usually. I mean, it just depends. It just so happens Alan has been not home in the evenings because he's working on a show. I wanted to watch Nightbreed on an actual TV. And, you know, you and I had talked about we're going to watch the theatrical cut and then we're going to watch the other cut, whatever. And so I found it on Amazon. It's on Amazon Prime. And they have the theatrical cut, which is a part of Amazon Prime. Like, you don't have to pay anything extra for it. And then they have the director's cut that you have to rent for $4 or buy for like $15 or whatever.
Huh.
But that was great. Wanted to watch it. So watched it. And then I went to watch the director's cut or whatever. And I was like, this is exactly the same. I don't get it.
Oh, no.
So I checked it out. Buyer beware. Amazon is a liar. What they are giving you for free as the theatrical cut is the director's cut. You can't get the theatrical cut on Amazon.
Oh.
They say that it is, but it's not. So
You watched them in reverse.
I watched them in reverse. But when that happened, I was like, oh, this is annoying. But then I thought, well, maybe this will be interesting.
Yeah.
Because I saw as close to what Clive Barker wanted as it could get. And then I saw the theatrical cut, and I have a take. So I'm interested. Did you watch both? Did you watch the theatrical and then the other one?
Yeah, I watched them theatrical first, and then the other one. Yeah, so I watched the opposite of you.
Because when I started watching the first one that I watched, which was the director's cut, and I just didn't know it, I was texting you. I was like, "Oh my god."
Already not a fan.
I hate it.
That's right. You're like, it's so chopped up. And I was like, yeah, it is. Little did you realize it could get worse.
Little did I realize. I don't know. So I don't know if there's any reason to be coy about it. And I don't know. I don't even feel like this movie is worthy necessarily of a spoiler alert. It's about demons or something that live underground. There's not a lot to spoil, but if you don't want spoilers, turn it off now.
Yeah, now's the time.
Honestly, I liked the theatrical cut better, and I don't think that it was just because it was shorter. Now, that may have had something to do with it. I found the director's cut confusing.
Really?
Yes. I don't know, and maybe I just felt like the theatrical cut was much more direct.
Okay, that is interesting. I agree with you on that statement. I thought the theatrical cut was extremely direct. However, having not seen the director's cut, so I didn't know the story beforehand, having nothing to compare it to, I was confused.
Okay.
Because it cuts to the chase so fast that I had very little feeling for these characters. Like, it jumps in and we've got these guys, Aaron and Lori, his girlfriend. Aaron's having these
Nobody
bad
ever
dreams.
calls him Aaron. They only call him Boone. So let's
They
do
always
that
call
from
him
now
Boone.
on.
Okay. God, I wrote him in here as Aaron because some people do call him Aaron. They call him Boone. Even his girlfriend calls him by his last name. Like, what the hell? But anyway, yeah, he's having these bad dreams, and his girlfriend's like, oh, you're getting the bad dreams, aren't you? And then his doctor he's with his psychiatrist, and his psychiatrist, who is played by David Cronenberg.
I know, and we can't, like, I know that we're getting a late start, but we can't gloss over things like
The
that.
intro.
Like,
You don't know.
no, I mean, yes, the intro, I mean, everything is crazy. Like, the credits are so weird. Like, it just immediately smacks you with the imagery of these monsters, like, writhing around with snakes and stuff. Like,
I thought, because I watched the theatrical cut first, I thought, okay, they took a bunch of footage they were going to cut, and they decided to just make a cool credit sequence out of it, which is just monsters snarling, just very, very random. No, they shot all that for the credit sequence. It's pretty nuts.
it is nuts. And then the whole first scene is like some bird creature person. Like, these are all people in prosthetics and makeup, which
Yeah.
I love. I absolutely love. It looks fantastic, but it's I don't know, like, it's dreamlike, and this first scene, like, they're all getting chased, and they run behind this gate, and they close the gate, but it turns out to be the main guy's dream, and he's seeing this psychiatrist, who apparently he's seen for a long time. Now, I had to watch it twice to kind of understand what was going on, and again, spoilers, but his Dr. Decker is played by David Cronenberg. And I just can't, I mean, we've done David Cronenberg movies. We've talked about him extensively. I don't know that I ever had an idea in my mind of what he looked like, but now that I do, I'm shocked that he didn't act more. He is so good in this movie.
He was in your previously your favorite Friday the 13th movie. Jason X in the very beginning. Looks about the same too.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Of course, it wasn't too many years after that, I suppose. I mean, you thought his acting was good, I suppose.
Yes, I really did. But it wasn't even just the acting. It was just that he is a handsome guy. Like, he looks like an actor.
Well, that's true. Yeah.
And, you know, he's tall and lean, and he's got an interesting face and all his hair. And, like, in this part, he's supposedly Boone's psychiatrist, who he has been with for a long time. Now, again, for the 100th time, spoiler alert, because I didn't get this the first time. Boone has been having dreams about murders, or apparently, you know, when he was talking to this doctor, he was having dreams about murders. Yeah. And he's kind of having dreams again, but the dreams are more just about the monsters that we already talked about in this place called Midian, and he's actually he tells his girlfriend, like, I'm not really scared of the dreams anymore. They're actually kind of comforting. As it turns out, his doctor is a crazy person. I didn't get this the first time at all.
You mean in the beginning, or just completely?
No. I mean, actually, the first time I watched the movie, I never put it together. I never put it together that Boone had described these murders to his psychiatrist, and then the psychiatrist, who is a crazy person, went out and recreated the murders.
Right. I mean, it's so confusing in the theatrical cut because there are big chunks of the doctor scenes that are missing, that are in the director's cut. And man, does it flesh out necessary information. Because the doctor has this bag. Actually, I'm not even sure now. I can't remember. What is in his suitcase?
It's a briefcase. He has like a briefcase that has... But again, you don't know this. All we see is there's this horribly violent murder scene where there's this very normal family, husband and wife, who are like average middle American people. They don't look like, you know, supermodel actors or whatever. They're just normal people, and they've got a kid who, from the top of the stairs, says to his mom, like, I think I saw a scary guy. And she's like, no, everything's fine. You just go to bed. I'll come up and say goodnight in a minute. And then she gets brutally slaughtered, and then the husband gets brutally slaughtered, and then you don't see it on screen, but it's assumed that that little sweet kid gets brutally slaughtered too by this man in a great mask. I was calling him Sackhead. I think that in my notes, I think that people online call him Button Eyes, but it's just like a burlap. it's not really a sack because it's kind of fitted like a mask. Like it's fitted to his head, kind of. The eyes are just buttons, and the mouth is askew off to one side in kind of a grin, and it's a zipper, and it's like part zipped and part not. And I mean, this stuff, all of this I loved. Like, I thought that he looked great.
Yeah.
I'm going to have a hard time pinpointing why I didn't like it, but I just didn't.
Yeah, I didn't really like it either. I think, well, first of all, that mask reminded me of Samhain from the Trick or Treat movie.
Uh-huh.
It very much is like a skinny, form-fitted version of that, but it's got that Clive Barker. Clive Barker's always got a little bit of that like sexual S&M edge to some of the stuff that he does.
Oh yeah,
and this does look very much like a burlap sack version of a, I don't know what you call it, right? The mask,
yeah, like the rubber, yeah, like a BDSM rubber
with
mask,
the zipper
sure.
and everything, but askew. So these guys, I guess, implies this guy's getting a lot of pleasure from what he's doing. So there's an interesting juxtaposition between the guy in the dreams and what's obviously just like a killer slasher guy. Turns out that characters, the monsters and things that he's having the dreams about, they're basically the good guys.
Yeah.
And it's his doctor guy, and basically all of the humans, with the exception of him and his girlfriend, are kind of the nasty people. It's very much a movie about othering and the oppressed and the silenced and the weird being pushed aside and being unacceptable for the world. I've heard a lot of talk about how this might be the queerest horror movie ever made, in the sense that it seems like that's a very strong message behind the film. Maybe, I mean, it's very obviously a strong theme. By the end of the movie, you get that. In fact, it's weird because, I mean, I'm sure you've read the same stuff I did, and I saw a lot of interviews. Did you find it on YouTube that when they premiered the director's cut, there was a Q&A with Clive Barker and several of the cast and people involved in the production of the movie that they did that was kind of fun? Did you see that at all?
No.
Yeah, I mean, they talk about really the studio didn't get the picture because they were so excited about Hellraiser. They wanted basically another Hellraiser. And so they couldn't figure out why these monsters were good guys. They're like, they seem like good guys. And Barker's like, yeah, that's the point. That's the whole point of the movie, is that the monsters are the good guys and the bad guys are the humans. But they marketed it like a slasher movie, and he was so pissed about it. At the time, he was so pissed. Like, if you look at IMDb, you can see the original poster for this movie, and it's just got this woman's wide eyes on it, and it says,
the poster's dumb.
She thought she knew everything about her boyfriend, but Laurie was wrong. Oh, God. And that's not what I grew up seeing on the shelves. On the shelves, at least the VHS sleeve had the main character surrounded by what looks like his gang of monsters. So, yeah, I could see why. I could see why this completely just pissed off Barker. And then the way it was chopped up didn't really change any of that at all, I think. It really didn't change the thematic elements of the movie.
I didn't think so either. Like, there was, I felt like I had read about, Barker was so disappointed in the way that it had been edited and so much had been cut out. And again, I saw, the extended cut first, but when I saw the theatrical cut, I was like, yeah, like, I still got the gist. Maybe it's because
you saw the director's cut.
Right. Maybe
really
it's because
think so.
I already had that in my mind.
Yeah.
But I didn't really feel like I missed out on a lot.
There are leaps.
In fact, I thought some things made more sense in the theatrical cut.
Like what?
That weird priest who just gets introduced at the very end at the jail, and then he kind of plays a big part in the end. In the director's cut, I had no idea who he was or what he was supposed to be doing, and his scenes were placed in different places. In the theatrical cut, because it was tighter, he still seemed like an extraneous character who I didn't care about, but at least he played a role. It was important.
I think you're right in that priest role, which it's so weird to bring in what turns out to be a fairly consequential character in 3/4 of the way through your movie. But because the movie's shorter in the theatrical cut, and because it tightens the space between his scenes, you're right. I can see that now, where the priest definitely felt, once he was introduced, like he was a little bit more of the story. Whereas in the theatrical cut, he's so spread out once he's introduced that it's like, oh yeah, there's that guy. And why is he suddenly popping up again? I can totally see that. Was there anything else?
Oh gosh, I don't know. I mean, I just didn't feel like anything that got put back into the director's cut was really all that essential. Like, I did very much enjoy the girlfriend singing that song.
But it didn't need to go on for the length of the song, did it?
Todd, that song has been in my head for like the rest of the week. Like,
oh, that's hilarious.
Like all this week. And then my favorite line, I want a brave man, I want a caveman. I loved that. Like, I can't believe that
they trimmed that.
Cutting that. That was like my favorite part.
I don't know. I'll tell you, that first beginning bit is my biggest problem with the theatrical cut. I think that maybe you had the benefit of having seen their relationship as presented in the theatrical cut. I'm sorry, in the director's cut. So when you went to the theatrical cut and you saw it, you appreciated that they were just getting to the point of the action much sooner.
Mm-hmm.
When I saw the theatrical cut, to me, that whole beginning sequence up until he gets to Midian was so chopped up that I barely got a feel for who these people were, what their relationship was even like. I'm like, okay, well, she's his girlfriend, so I guess she cares about him. But it's so jumpy that, after like 10 minutes or whatever, he's suddenly leaving and she's upset about it. Then this doctor's doing this thing and then he's dead. And I just didn't even feel like I cared about him all that much yet. And already he's dead and I know I'm supposed to understand what's happening here and how it's affecting everybody. And I really didn't.
I just didn't feel like the director's cut really expanded upon any of that at all. Like, it all moves so quickly and it all just kind of throws you into, okay, here's this guy and he dreams of this place where there's a bunch of monsters, and in his mind it's like, oh, this is a good place because you go there and nobody judges you and you're forgiven for everything that you've ever done. Who cares? He hasn't done anything. Why is he
True.
Why is he dreaming of this place? Like, none of this is ever explained.
Actually, that's a good point. The movie even brings it out. After he dies and then is sort of resurrected.
How does he die? He gets shot. Oh, the doctor, this apparently psychopath that he just happened to go to for therapy. This guy's a nutcase and he is a killer and wants to kill people. So I'm a nutcase doctor and some guy comes to me and is like, oh, I have these dreams of this place where there's freaks and monsters, but I want to go there because everything is forgiven when you go there. Okay, so now me, the doctor, ooh, tell me more. I want to go there. What?
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense. And that doesn't bother me because movies don't have to make sense, but and I don't think that I've read this book, but I would be really interested in reading it because I almost feel like it must come across better on the page, because just throwing you into this world, it's jarring. It's weird.
It's weird.
It's jarring not only to throw you into this world, but to throw you into it immediately. The very first thing you see are all these monsters writhing around with snakes and shit. Like, just, here we are. This is the world that we're in. Get used to it. Go. It's strange. It's a strange movie.
I can see the vision behind it. Barker himself, he said he wanted to create the Star Wars of horror. He wanted to do epic world building here, create these characters. He had a trilogy in mind. He was hoping it would go beyond that. And I can see the ambition. from a special effects and makeup effects thing, I mean, he was only given a couple million for Hellraiser, and the studio gave him 11 million for this and said go to town. And I feel like he spent all that and more up on the screen as far as visual effects and makeup effects, and there was stop motion in there. I mean, in that aspect, it's really, really impressive. But in the story aspect, it feels so claustrophobic to me.
It somehow misses the mark, and I can't figure out why. Even the effects, and you talked about like the stop motion, there are some, okay, so all of these freaks live in Midian, which people assume is a town, but it's not. It's really just like a graveyard. But the truth of the matter is there's a whole underground lair that they live in. Like, it's enormous. And some of that, especially at the end, looks amazing, and there are some great effects. And I feel like he tried to do things with showing us the different types of people, beings, whatever they're supposed to be in Midian, but it was always just like, here, I'm going to take a shot, not a photograph, but that's what it looks like because it's just one person in frame. Like, look what I did. Like, here's a freaky fat guy. And then,
here's a freaky guy eating eels. Here's a freaky guy with stuff that comes out of his stomach. And here's I mean, sad to say, a little bit like Death House, right? Where you're just room after room after room. Like this city or this lair that they're in, it feels more like a jail,
It does. And that's another thing that bothered me, and I wonder what it's like in the book, because there's a point in the movie, and I don't remember when it is. It's when the main guy, Boone, has already, I think, gotten killed and then resurrected by the things in Midian, so now he's Nightbreed too or whatever. And then his girlfriend goes there to find him, and she like rescues a weird like elf coyote, and then when she gets it into the shade, it turns into a girl, and the girl's mom's like, oh yeah, she likes to play in the sun, but she doesn't realize it's going to turn her into an elf coyote or whatever. And
quote from the movie. No, I'm just kidding.
I don't even remember. I got all caught up with the elf coyote because it was so important, but like, it doesn't, it just seems so, I don't know. Like, I feel like
it seems so small.
I need a limited series, or I'm not getting enough of who these people are or what they're supposed to be, because what we're supposed to, I think, ultimately believe is that these are just different beings, and they just want to be left alone.
Yeah, they just want to exist.
Leave them alone.
Be left alone. They're like the outcasts of society, and there's this large, strange, unexplained entity named not Lucifer. What was it?
Baphomet.
Baphomet. Baphomet. It was like Baphomet, but with a, if you pronounce it French, I guess. Baphomet, which more or less looks like a statue in the center of the city, who has created this quote-unquote city as their refuge and helped keep it hidden. But it doesn't feel like a city. Like, it doesn't feel like they have a society down there. I mean, if they do, we don't see them, like, interacting with each other, eating, playing, doing things. We just see them sitting around in rooms, snarling and being weird,
That's what I was trying to get at, because the weird coyote thing's mom, Rachel, is like,
with the Nightbreed, the last survivors of the great tribes.
Okay, tribes of what?
We're shapeshifters, freaks, remains of races that your tribe have almost driven to extinction.
So you're not immortal?
Far from it. The sun can kill some of us. Like Babette, some of us can be shot down. Others can survive that because they've gone beyond death.
This is too weird.
To be able to fly? To be smoke? Or a wolf? To know the night and live in it forever. That's not so bad.
We're all happy here. Like, the things that you envy, we can do. So, like, it sounds like we should be envious of what they have, but it looks like a terrible hellscape. Like,
It looks like a terrible place to be.
Yeah, it's just these horribly deformed humanoid type people huddling in corners by themselves.
By torchlight in dirt holes in the wall.
Yeah,
with
I do not envy this. It's cool that you can turn into smoke and hypnotize people with your titties, but I do not want to live in this horrible place where big, gross guys have like weird telescopic snakes that come out of their gut.
Yeah. It's true.
It does not look like a pleasant place to be. And I get it. Like, Clive Barker is dark, and I love that about him.
Yeah.
I love that he's dark and he's into all this S&M stuff, and I really enjoy reading his stuff. I like watching his movies, but I just couldn't. This was weird. You are supposed to have empathy for the Nightbreed. You're supposed to root for them. They are the heroes of the movie. And to be fair, yeah, the people in the movie are horrible.
All the people. Almost all of them. Except for the Guardian guy, the classic old man who has the gas station
tackle
guy shop, curio shop or whatever.
I mean, there are fine people in the movie. There are, the main guy's fine. His girlfriend's fine. She makes a friend at a bar who is fine. But anybody who is like representative of authority is horrible.
The sheriff's an asshole. The detective, the detective's more confused than anything. But
the psychiatrist is terrible.
Yeah.
Police are terrible. Eventually, the psychiatrist convinces the horrible sheriff to put together a redneck militia.
Yes, which he has on hand, apparently. They have logos and hats and everything. Yeah, and he's very proud of it.
They put together a redneck militia, and then the police go to, I guess, what is their, like, bunker where they have, like, machine guns?
Drawn out
explanation. It's insane!
This is typical horror movie. This I found, okay, I get what he's doing. So the people are worse than the creatures and all that. But none of this is really helped by the supposed motivations of the psychiatrist and all this, how this all comes together. Because ultimately, I guess, the psychiatrist's motivation, I think, Decker, that's his name, is for Boone to lead him to Midian, right?
Yeah.
So that he can continue the cleansing or whatever that he's doing.
Yeah.
But it turns out Midian's really just down the road. And it's just in this rather large and obvious cemetery that is right along the highway that if you just walk in there and stumble around for 10 minutes, you're bound to run into one of these creatures because they're out wandering around, approaching people who come.
If you go there at night, they pretty much stay inside during the day.
Except for the little girl turning into a dog right out in the open.
Coyote.
I mean, like, and even then, if you're at all curious or exploratory in this graveyard, all you got to do is open the doors to this mausoleum or whatever. It's like swinging doors on this mausoleum. Walk inside 3 steps, and there's a staircase that leads right down into their lair. I mean, it's not magically hidden. I didn't get the sense that Baphomet did a great job keeping them hidden and protected, let alone that the sheriff, who Midian is within his jurisdiction apparently, didn't know weird shit was happening there, or...
They keep to themselves.
Oh, come on. When our main character gets there at night, he's instantly, like, accosted by
He's
3
not
of these
instantly
creatures.
accosted. He shows up during the day and
sleeps
then
there,
just
falls asleep.
Inexplicably decides to take a nap.
Yeah. Wakes up.
And then the
Dreadlocks guy gets after him with his buddy.
I called him Dreadlocks Darth Maul because that's what he looked like. But that's not what wakes him up first. my favorite part of this movie, and I may need to ask questions about this, but there's just one little twink guy who's just a normal, mostly naked little twink guy, and he has a little Boston Terrier. And my sole remaining dog is a little Boston Terrier, and she is my life.
Aww.
So when he inexplicably, like, he's like, oh my god, I have to find this place, I have to find it, and then he finds it, and he's like, you know what, I think I need a nap. He just sits down and goes to sleep. But he wakes up to this little Boston Terrier licking his face, and it's so cute, and then it runs away, and then its little twink owner grabs it. Now, this little guy, I don't remember what his name is, they all have weird names, but this little guy, I guess you don't have to look like a monster to be Nightbreed, because Boone becomes Nightbreed, but he looks normal most of the time. Like, he kind of like monsters out the way that vampires vamp out on Buffy.
Yeah,
like
on cute, like whatever he wants to, he can do that.
Yeah, so I don't know.
And does that give him power? Did that make him stronger, I guess? I never really got what it did besides like put these weird tattoo marks on his face.
This is why I think that it would be so much better as a book, because I just don't understand. Like, okay, ultimately it turns out that there's some prophecy that, like, he's supposed to be their savior or something, and I guess some of them know that. And that's the only reason to me. Why wouldn't they just kill him? He's annoying. Like, he does nothing but bring them trouble. Like,
true.
Just eat him.
Well, that's how he becomes Nightbreed, right? Is because the dreadlocks guy bites him.
Yeah.
He's like, he's meat. I chases him
Which
for a while.
we learn later in one of the cuts was prophesized or whatever.
Right. Did he know that he was fulfilling a prophecy when he bit him? Or did he just not check the paintings?
According to one of the cuts, I don't remember which one, because he's
the one who shows them.
Yeah, there's big exposition later. God, it's... The reason that I'm shaking my head, which obviously y'all can't see, but the reason that I'm shaking my head is because it's all explained later in exposition that I don't care about. Like, it comes so late.
Yeah.
Like, literally in the last 10 minutes of the movie, Dreadlock Darth Maul explains this to Boone's girlfriend, like, oh, it's a big prophecy, and look, here's all of these like cave paintings that show it, and it shows me biting him, and I knew that I had to, and he's mine, or something. Like,
yeah.
Really?
I think it was mostly the director's cut, because the theatrical cut, I don't remember ever seeing any of that. Or if I did, it was very, very short. And by the way, those cave paintings, they were painted by Barker brought all the talent in for this. He brought in Danny Elfman to do the score, which is fantastic. And this was just off of Batman. I think he had just done Batman before this, and was before he had done like every score for every other movie. And then the guy who did those cave paintings, which apparently was a massive set and a massive ordeal for him to do these paintings, was the dude who oh gosh, I wish I had his name on hand, but he did the matte paintings and stuff for Star Wars. Like, he was very big in set design and matte paintings and art direction and all that stuff.
There were some really amazing matte painting sets for this movie too.
Oh yeah.
They looked really cool. There are, like, I've only seen this movie twice now in the last 4 days, but I know that there are big fans of it. And if you are a big fan, there are some really cool things on YouTube where they really get into the nitty-gritty.
Oh yeah.
Trying to dissect stuff. And I watched a couple of them. Like, I watched a whole thing about who the different monsters are, and not only how they feature in this movie, but then there are comics and other stuff that, continue the story. It is very interesting. So if you're a fan of the movie and you haven't seen that stuff, I very much recommend it, because there's some cool stuff out there to read. I don't know. I think that if I had seen it, I don't know. I can't believe that we haven't seen it.
Yeah.
I won't speak for you. I feel like I missed the I just couldn't get into it watching both. And honestly, watching the director's cut first and then watching the theatrical cut, the stuff that they cut, I didn't think was really that important. I looked it up. He's figure in theology, in a bunch of different theologies, and he represents different things and whatever. But I looked it up, and it's a thing, but he's basically just a statue.
Yeah.
That kind of talks at the end. And you see it in both cuts. You see more of him in the theatrical cut, or excuse me, the director's cut, but you don't learn more about it.
No, it's true. But there's something about just seeing more of everything that makes it a little more fluid. I have to disagree with you. I thought the theatrical cut was so chopped up that it was throwing things at me so fast and so furiously, and everything it's throwing at me is just different. You know, it's just wacky character after wacky character after wacky character. They're coming in and out and in and out. In the meantime, it feels like it's trying to cram this plot into an hour and a half at such a fast pace and such lightning speed that I didn't really feel like I had a handle on much of anything that was happening. I mean, I got the general gist, but all the finer details and none of my questions got answered. And I think even just giving my brain a little more time to digest and make connections and think about what I was seeing was helpful. Even just seeing more of Baphomet and having that break for my brain was kind of nice and reinforced, okay, this guy really is important. It's not just this dude thrown in here. There were just things that I thought were better fleshed out in the director's cut that I did not get in the theatrical cut, and I was glad for it. But it's still so loose. There's still so many questions and between the two. Like, I still don't get. The priest was angry about bringing Decker into their world at first, right? He says, like, you've endangered our world because of Decker.
Yeah.
And Decker can lead our enemies here. It just feels like anyone could go there. It is not hard to find this place. The whole way that Boone finds it in the first place is that he's sent briefly to, like, the loony bin, I guess.
He's in a hospital because he gets hit by a truck because his psychiatrist gave him
drugs,
LSD or something.
Which was not clear to me in the theatrical, but what made a lot more sense in the director's cut. Like, there was a scene or two in there. I was like, oh, I get it. It was the drugs that he gave him.
This is the thing that I think is emblematic of my problem with the movie. So he's in the hospital. He's been whacked out on drugs, but apparently he wakes up and he's fine. And the first thing he hears is this person saying, take me to Midian, take me to Midian. And he finds this guy, this crazy guy who's like, oh, I want to go to Midian. Midian's this place. And he's like, what do you know about Midian? And they talk for a second.
They won't come while you're here. They won't show themselves to the likes of you.
What did you just say?
What did you just say?
You said Midian.
Did I? Maybe.
What do you know about it?
It's where the monsters go. It takes away the pain.
And then he's like, yeah, I'll take you there. And the guy's like, oh, you've been sent here. You're testing me. And eventually there's a big gory scene where this crazy guy rips off his scalp. Then the movie goes on for another 20 minutes and Boone dies. He gets shot by police because his doctor, his psychiatrist, convinces the police to shoot him or whatever. And then it immediately cuts to a scene where the guy who scalped himself in the hospital is ushering Boone into the underground of Midian. It seems like there should have been 4 other scenes before this.
Yeah.
I have no idea. I had and have no idea how Narciss, that's the scalped guy, ended up there.
Yeah.
And I think it was in the extended cut. He comes in and, oh God, what's his name? The guy who plays Pinhead?
Doug Bradley.
Doug Bradley.
Who is like the priest figure type guy, I guess.
They bring him into this priest figure, Doug Bradley, and Doug Bradley is like, have you studied all of the laws of Midian? And Boone is like, yeah, I've been studying them for a while. So, like, what? I feel like we missed a whole thing.
Yeah. And also, so was Narcissus actually a denizen of Midian that was just placed there?
No.
Did he get recruited somewhere in the middle of this?
He somehow knew about it. And
he
then
pointed out the window. It was like, it's over there. And that was all the information that Boone needed to get there.
No, he gave street by street directions. That was hilarious. He was like, then you turn left on Main.
And then go down the Highway 9. Take your third exit past the Buc-ee's, continue on.
It was hilarious. Street by street. And then, so then Boone left him and took his directions, and he stayed back, and the psychiatrist came and questioned him and apparently got the directions out of him too before he died, because then later the psychiatrist shows up in Midian and Boone has him like cornered or something, but then Narcissus comes out of nowhere and is like, you can kill him, but I want his balls. And he says, like, do you remember me? You got all your answers out of me when I was at my weakest. So, like, we're just...
I guess he was a former patient of the psychiatrist.
No, the psychiatrist just went in. Like, after he had already pulled it. Don't you remember that?
Yes, he said something like, he said, I need privacy.
I can talk to him, and I can probably get things out of him, but I'll have to do it in private.
That's right. I still don't know what was in his suitcase. Was it his knives and his hat?
It was all of his knives and his mask, and he's been killing people, and he's been setting Boone up. He's been making it seem like Boone's been the one. He's been framing Boone for doing all these things. And then Boone becomes Nightbreed, but then he comes back, and then the psychiatrist is obsessed with the Nightbreed because apparently the reason that he's doing all this is because he's cleansing the earth of bad people or something. I don't know. He's just a psychopath. But because he brings all this attention and this redneck militia to Midian, then Midian ends up getting blown up, and there's a great scene where some redneck drives his truck into the cemetery and it falls down through the stories and stories of underground world of Midian, and all of that looks great. I like the setup. The execution
is bad.
Certain things, we talked about how all of those, you see all of these quote unquote freaks or monsters from Midian, but it's just, the camera just leers at them for a second, and then it cuts to a different scene as though you're taking prom pictures of these freaks or something.
Right. It's like a little tour.
Yeah.
But that's it. And so, again, from a technical perspective, it's all very good. Like, the filmmaking is good.
Right.
The effects are incredible.
Yes.
This looks like and feels like an expensive movie without seams. It's great. The acting is actually quite good. Mm-hmm. The performances, there's dance in here. Even her singing is good.
Yeah.
Like, the girlfriend singing.
She sang that live. Good
catchy song.
Johnny get angry. It's it's an earworm.
It is. But it's the story that is just executed poorly. There's just too much in here, too much that's not explained, and too much that, quite frankly, doesn't make sense. I don't buy that this psychiatrist can do all this shit. I don't buy that this psychiatrist even needs to set this guy up, let alone why he got fixated on this guy when he started talking about Midian, which presumably he didn't know about before, but if he did know about it before, that would be good information to know. Like, is this like a local legend? Is it something other people are searching for? It doesn't help that it really does feel like it's just down the street and quite easy to find. And once you find that cemetery, there's no secret code. There's no, like, mystical portal you have to go through. You just walk in through a door that just seems like it's always open, walk down a staircase that's completely unguarded. I don't even understand how his girlfriend finds the place. Like, she goes into a bar nearby and she meets up with that.
Somebody tells her. I don't remember. Yeah.
But then if it's that well known, then it's not really, like, his journey was kind of meaningless, If kind of more or less several random strangers, if you talk to the right person, can tell you where Midian is, then this whole journey of this guy learning these clues and stuff and leading Decker there, it's kind of flat. This could have happened any other way.
I think that's where the movie fails. There's rich material to mine from there. Like, I can believe that the gas station guy has known about these things or whatever for a long time. And he even says, like, I wanted to be one of them, but they rejected me. That's interesting.
Yeah.
The bartender in the bar kind of seems to know something. The people around there, the woman that the girlfriend Lori meets in the bar, there's stuff to mine from here. It's just in an hour and a half or 2 hours, it's just too much. You can't establish enough. I mean, even the Nightbreed themselves, that is fascinating.
Yeah, there's like a story behind every one of these people, probably.
Yeah, and I've heard people online refer to it as like X-Men. I mean, that's what they are, basically.
Yeah.
You know, there's a bird lady who's, like sexy and can lure men in, but then she can also like shoot poison quills out, and it's great designs. Like, I love the Moonface Man.
God, the woman with the child who you said turns into smoke and then has the hypnotic boobs. You don't even get that in the theatrical cut. At least in the director's cut, you see her come in and do all that magic. Without that, you don't actually get a sense that each of them do have a bit of a superpower to them. But like you said, it's like, here it is, and that's it. They don't band together.
And you don't get enough of it. And I think that where the two versions differ the most is in the end.
Real quick, can we talk about what leads up to the end? Because this is another one of my big beefs with the movie.
Yeah.
There's a grand fight scene. It is long in the theatrical cut.
Huge.
It's even longer in the director's cut, where, like you said, the sheriff and his redneck militia come in at the same time that the detective and the people that have gone ahead are already there discovering things on their own, at the same time that Boone's girlfriend has been there and has taken her tour of the Nightbreed, her guided tour.
Yeah.
They're only so happy to do that for her for reasons I'm not quite sure. And then he's going back to take care of her, and Decker is with the cops, and he's doing his own thing, suddenly dressing up as the killer, and he's killing everybody. So there's a lot of elements happening here. It's a big, jumbled mess. It should be this really big, epic battle. And in a sense, it is, because there is a lot of shit happening. But like you said earlier about how it feels like a little prom picture moment each time, I didn't get a sense of this grand epic battle because everything was in these short snapshots. It's like, okay, here's a guy who wanders into a scene with a shotgun. He gets approached by one of these creatures, and they do this thing, and the creature bests him, or he bests the creature, and then there's another snapshot just like that. Everyone's just running loose, and there's just all these individual scenes of these things happening. I didn't get a sense of, like, who's winning? Is anybody helping someone else? Are they all just running scared? We're supposed to get this sense that Boone is bringing them together for this epic fight. Like he's telling them, like, you guys need to defend yourself. Now is the time that you need to learn that you have to fight back.
Yeah, and I don't...
And they all kind of are individually, but there's no feel like they're marching into this great battle against these other groups that's quite organized. Not really. They're all running around with their shotguns doing random shit too. Like, I got bored, and I shouldn't have been, but I got bored halfway through this battle scene.
In the extended cut, it's kind of explained that all of this was destined to happen, but ultimately in both cuts, it feels like Boone's just an asshole. They should have just killed him.
They would have been better off.
Fine.
They were fine before they brought this to them.
Yeah, they were fine. They were just living in their space. Nobody was bothering them. Everything was cool.
And now their home is destroyed.
Yeah, that little twink was just living there with his little dog, and everything was fine, and now he's all burned up and a bunch of other people are dead,
and his dog's
dead.
Had
this whole like society. His dog is not dead. That dog
is not
fine.
I thought it died.
In my mind it's fine.
Oh, gotcha. Okay,
it's fine,
fair enough.
But like, the big difference to me was in the end, all of these folks, the Nightbreed, in the extended cut, they end up in a barn. They're just like waiting in it's in both cuts, but they're in a barn. And the little girl, the weird elfy coyote girl, is like, what's going to happen now? And her mom, the smoke tits lady is like, we're gonna wait until our savior comes. Like, I don't think she says savior, but that's basically what she says. And like Boone is gonna lead them to somewhere else. I think in both cuts, Boone faces Baphomet in the end, and Baphomet's like, you brought this destruction, so you must find me and rebuild. Like, okay.
Yeah. Great prophecy.
Yeah.
This guy's going to come and destroy their home and force them to go on somewhere else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, boy. Gosh, I don't know. There are differences, I think, in the theatrical cut.
His friend is alive.
Yes, the scalped guy, I think, doesn't die. He dies in the extended cut. I don't think he dies in the theatrical cut. You will notice substantial differences in the ending.
Yeah.
And in the extended cut, I think Boone and his girlfriend get out, but he's like, I have to go be their savior, and she's like, take me with you, and he's like, no. And she's like, okay, fine, bye then. And then she stabs herself and forces him to like turn her into Nightbreed, and that's supposed to be romantic or something, and then that's how it ends.
It's supposed to be romantic.
and then I think in the theatrical cut,
that's not a thing.
I don't even remember what happens with the two of them at the end. What I remember is that the bad guy, Sackface guy, gets like
crucified,
but brought back to life, like the priest, the
dude.
Weird priest who splashed the boiling god water on his face. I don't know.
In his chest, by the way. Reached into his chest and poured it on his heart or something. I don't know.
Something. He brings Sackface back to life. Like, maybe there's going to be a sequel. I don't know. The endings are significantly different and worth watching. Like, if you're going to watch either of these, watch either one. It doesn't matter. You know, whichever one you're more interested in.
Watch director's cut.
Fine, whatever. But watch the ending of both, because they're substantially different and interesting.
I can see why people like this movie.
I can't.
I can see why people got behind it. I think it's one of those fanboy type things where you're entranced by the idea. You're entranced by, like you said, the promise of this mythology that's just not quite well realized yet. And you like these individual characters. You like these creatures. You're like a fantasy nut, you know? I get that.
Sure.
I liked a lot of these characters and these creatures and
Me
probably
too.
like to see more of them. And I like, just like you said, this idea. But I just, after sitting through it, especially twice, I don't really have much interest in diving back into that world because it doesn't feel like there's enough there.
Not here.
A series would be good. Like a limited series. And there was supposed to be one, apparently. In 2014, they were talking about it, and it was going to happen, and then it kind of fell through. But I think more recently it's been picked up again and then maybe is still in development.
I don't know. I mean, there's definitely... Again, I'm a big Clive Barker fan. He's good at world building. And I think that there is structure for good world building here. It's just not realized well in this movie. I was surprised to see that this came out after, like, the first two Hellraisers. I think both the first two Hellraisers are better than this movie. And if I had, of course this isn't how it worked out, but if I had seen Hellraiser 1 and Hellraiser 2 and then this movie, what? Is this the same guy? Like, it just doesn't come together for me for some reason. It just, I don't know why, it just doesn't.
It's too ambitious.
Maybe it's too ambitious. There, you know, like the Moonface guy, I really liked. I would have liked to have seen more of him.
Oh yeah, he kind of dropped out.
I know. Even Dreadlock Darth Maul guy, like I would have liked to have seen more about them. I think that if I had been more invested in this mythos, in this world, then I could have gotten more on board with it, but there just wasn't a 90-minute or a 2-hour movie just wasn't enough to establish it for me. And the stuff that I think was meant to be establishing, like all of those shots in Midian of the different freaks and creatures, which in a snapshot are interesting on their own, but when all you get are snapshots, it's just really... Yeah. It just didn't work for me.
It doesn't paint a good wider picture, really, in that way. And I have to believe that if he had attempted this project now, in the age of streaming, this would have 100% right off the bat been posed as a series, and probably would have been able to take it. It would have taken his time with it. We've now established that people nowadays do have the patience for a good story, well told over a long episodic thing. At this time, it's all movies. It's just movie. You're going to do something big, it's got to be a movie. TV series are not known yet for being able to, with very few exceptions, and that's like the realm of drama. Nobody imagined you could build a very long-going story in a TV series. It would just be really, really hard to do. But nowadays, this is totally fitting for that kind of thing. Back then, trying to cram this all into a movie or even a trilogy, he swung for the fences, I think, and just came up short. Not in the technical area. It's a gorgeous film. It's really well made. Just the story is just hard to sit through.
Well, I also feel bad, and I feel like I should apologize, because I'm sure that there are people who saw this movie when it came out, and they love it. And I don't want to take away from that.
Sure.
I'm super glad if this is one of your favorite movies. And
we piss on people's cupcakes all the time.
I know.
On the show.
It didn't. I didn't see it then. It didn't hit me then. I'm just seeing it now for the first time, and I may be being overly critical. It's just a movie. There are so many things I appreciate about it. I appreciate the visuals and the makeup and the special effects, and there are cool things to see. It's worth seeing, just as in terms of overall experience. It wasn't for me, but
I can see the comments now. You got to see the Cabal cut, man.
I know, the 3-hour and 15-minute cut.
Save your judgment for the Cabal cut. It'll all make sense then, and you'll love it.
I'm going to put that on in the background at some point, for sure.
Well, we do have to thank the patrons for finally bringing us to this movie that, as you said, we should have seen a long time ago.
Absolutely.
Especially Harry. Thanks for putting that on the list for us. If you have strong feelings about this movie, definitely let us know. I would love to have a conversation about this. Maybe you guys can even explain some of these things to us that maybe are just going right over our head. You can just find us online, chainsawhorror.com, Google Two Guys and a Chainsaw, find our Facebook page, our Instagram. Wherever you find us, please reach out. You can also find our patreon.com/chainsaw podcast. Consider paying $5 a month. Get even more stuff that we put out, mini-sodes. We got our book club going. We have read some Clive Barker in our book club, and I guarantee you will probably be reading more. Even if you were curious about it, join the conversation. We have a Zoom meeting every week. We also have a newsletter that you can join where we put out the news on a mostly weekly basis, as well as let you know what we've got coming up both with the Patreon and with our show. Until next time, I am Todd.
And I'm Craig.
With Two Guys and a Chainsaw.